Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad to see a lot of familiar names joining us today morning. Hope everyone is doing well. So apologies for starting also a few minutes late. We did end up having a number of fundamentals. We did need to end up adjusting, but at least we have done that as quick as possible for you guys. So let's jump straight into it. So hello everyone, how are you doing today? My name is Mitch Kanyara and I'm a trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, during these webinars, we as the Afriforex team, ideally we analyze the markets, we identify what trading opportunities we'll be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So as usual, not here alone. We do have John. He is here in the back office, so we'll be here to assist you on whatever questions or queries you might have. So feel free to ask those questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box, and John will be there to respond to you. Or if you at least, even if you want to say hello to him, feel free to do so there as well. So let's jump straight into the pairs. So as usual, we'll start off with our watch list. So having a look at our watch list for today. Now, there has been a bit of a change with what pairs that we're going to be looking at. You can see the difference between yesterday and today. So yesterday, we were looking for buying opportunities on the Canadian dollar, the US dollar, as well as the British pound. We were looking to mix and match those three pairs with all the pairs on the sell side. So that was the euro, the Japanese yen, the Australian dollar, the New Zealand dollar, as well as the Swiss franc. Now, today, you can see there's been a number of pairs which have moved from the sell side to the buy side. So we'll still be looking for buying opportunities on the Canadian dollar, the US dollar, and the British pound, similar to what we were looking at yesterday. However, we do have the Japanese yen as well as the euro, which have moved to the buy side. So that those are the pairs we'll be looking at. So our focus, we'll be looking for selling opportunities on the Australian dollar, the New Zealand dollar, as well as the Swiss franc. And we're going to look to mix and match all those pairs with the pairs on the buy side. So let's jump straight into it. So ideally, let's have a look at the pairs that we did have yesterday that we're not going to be looking at today. What worked, what did not work, what we could have done better. Before we do look at a few screenshots that we did manage to get, then we'll jump on to today's pairs. So we'll start off with the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. Unfortunately, the buys did not really take off. It seems that the pullback has kept on happening, meaning this is just not necessarily a day trade. Might end up being a swing trade just based on how aggressive the price did move to the upside and this pullback coming down. However, we did end up getting some fundamentals earlier today morning for the Japanese yen. That is meant to be showing us strength, meaning if there's yen, there's strength for the Japanese yen, it means that this pair should be coming to the downside. That's the reason why we're not going to be focusing on this currency pair today. But you can see yesterday, no signs of big boy buyers coming in throughout the whole time. Once the price got towards this location, you can see the sellers just kept on pushing to the downside. No aggressive buyers showing up. So there was no entry criteria for us on the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, similar situation, most of the yens, as we do know, they are quite correlated. So pretty much the story is the same on most of these yen pairs. Yesterday, we're looking for those buying opportunities. The pullback did start coming in, not necessarily a very aggressive pullback, but at the same time, there'd be no buyers which actually ended up coming in. You can see, even though today we managed to get back towards the area that we were looking at, and we can see some sort of small reaction, the fact that the fundamentals have changed, it does end up adding extra risk. Even though the trade might work out, we do not necessarily want that risk. We want to try and end up entering these trades as safe as possible and something that we can repeat consistently. So unfortunately, this is a pair that we're not going to be looking at today. Similar situation, we have the British pound against the Japanese yen. Yesterday, we were looking for buying opportunities, and there was a potential opportunity that it was about to appear. As you can clearly see, when the price was on its way down during the London market open, we did want to see more of a pullback. As the price came down towards this buyer's area, we did see some buyers looking as if they were showing up. If the price was able to hold above, similar to what I've illustrated here, there could have been a buying opportunity. Unfortunately, you can see the price looked as if it was going to the upside. It came straight back in and held below. And you can see that was at exactly 3 o'clock. The price did manage to continue going down a bit lower, even though we're still within the areas that we did end up having yesterday. There's a pair that could give us issues today, and that's the reason why it is off our list. Now, moving on to the next kind of pairs. Now, yesterday we did have the euro against the Canadian dollar. Similar situation. Yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities on this. I can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Initially, the price was holding to the downside right here. Wanted to see whether or not we could end up getting some sort of probe or price action signal. And you can see the price went to the upside, It ended up giving us a probe and came back down. So at that point in time, we wanted to see as the price pulled back, if it was able to actually hold below, there could have been an actual selling opportunity there. Unfortunately, the price broke to the upside. And once it was holding above, there was no trading opportunity just yet. We wanted to see how the price is going to end up reacting within the main seller's area right there at the top. But you can clearly see once it did end up breaking to the upside, and this was much later on, it was around 8 o'clock at night. Once it did break and was holding to the upside, it did end up falling off our watch list. And you can see today the price has managed to continue going up, but this is mainly because we did end up having some euro fundamentals coming out at 9, which is definitely showing us some strength. And that's the reason why the euro pairs have moved to the buy side. So unfortunately, this is a pair, there was no real trading opportunity for us yesterday. There was a potential one that was could have happened within this particular area if the price had held below. The fact that it didn't, there was no trade here on the euro against the Canadian dollar. Now, similar situation here on the euro against the US dollar. Our bias yesterday was to look for selling opportunities. The price did not necessarily even give us much of a pullback. You can clearly see hardly any big boys seem to have been interested in this pair, based on the fact that the price actually just reigned and maintained between these two levels, not inciting any buyers, not inciting any sellers. The way we can actually end up making money is when there's an inequality in terms of either there are more buyers than sellers, or more sellers than buyers. So in this situation, the fact that they seem to have been in an agreement, the fact that the price was ranging, no real opportunity for us to actually give us a sell. But we can see today, even though it attempts the fact that the euro and the US dollar are both on the buy side today, we might actually end up seeing the price continue to range. So that's the reason why today the euro against the US dollar is going to be off our watch list. Now, moving on to the next currency pair we did have the euro against the British pound. Now, remember yesterday our bias was to look for selling opportunities. You can see initially the price was so close towards this buyer's area during the London market open. Wanted to see whether or not we could get some sort of probe or price action signal within this first support and resistance area. That did not happen. You can see the London big boys managed to continue taking it to the upside. You can see the way the buyers were strong until they actually started slowing down once we ended up approaching our main seller's area. You can see the amount of probes that did end up happening. Now, there would have been a potential sell within this area, and you can see the times around 4:30, between 3 and 4:30, there could have been some potential sells there. Unfortunately, the fact that the euro fundamentals have changed, and you can see these buyers are actually starting to come up. Similar situation, the fact that the sellers haven't really shown up fully. That's the reason why, even though there could have been a potential selling opportunity there, if you're in on this trade, possibly you might need to end up closing or at least managing it, just in case this price might actually continue ranging. Or you might find that the euro strength really comes in and you could find the price going up higher. So there's a reason why the euro against the British pound is going to be off our watch list for today. So that's it for all the review pairs. So before we do end up focusing on the pairs that we're going to be looking at today, let's end up having a look at a few screenshots that we did manage to get. So we'll start off with Peter. So Peter, you did manage to grab a very nice buying opportunity on the US dollar against the Japanese yen. It seems that you did end up taking advantage of that US dollar strength. You can see the price was actually on the way up. Stop loss is still below your entry. So ideally, as the price is starting to make its way to the upside, you can be able to move your stop loss to break even to make sure you end up managing your trade. You do not necessarily want a trade that's turned into a winner, or at least a winning trade to turn into a losing trade. So very, very good job on this trade, Peter. Keep up the good work that you're doing. So also next, did you get Bravin? Bravin, have to see a screenshot here. You know you are a sniper on the charts, and especially with silver. So no surprise that you did end up grabbing a nice buying opportunity right here where the buyers are on silver. You can see the price already coming up in your favor, and good trade management based on the fact that your stop loss is already above your entry. So nothing much even here to say apart from well done, Bravin, and keep up the great work that you're doing. So also next, we did get Ivy Wanyama. You did manage to grab some very nice selling opportunities right here. You got a sell on the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. Since the Australian dollar pairs, yes, did end up showing a lot of weakness. I did end up taking advantage of that weakness as well, but happy to see you did grab a very nice selling opportunity. Price really coming down in your favor. Not too sure. I think, yes, your stop loss should be based on where your entry is, but by this time, and the price is all the way down here, at least having your stop loss to secure a few more pips in terms of profit, but still very, very good job on this trade, Ivy. And you also grabbed a buying opportunity on the US dollar against the Swiss franc. Very nice buy. I guess the buy had just started. It is on its way up. Your stop loss is still below your entry, and you can see you have a good placement as where you have put your take profit. So very good job on this trade, Ivy. Keep up the good work that you're doing, and let's see the progress. So keep on sending them in. Definitely, you will end up seeing more and more improvement. So keep up the good work on those trades. So last but not least, I think these are the trades that I actually ended up getting. Grabbed a very nice selling opportunity on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Australian dollar did end up showing a lot of weakness yesterday. So the price really came down, as well as on the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. Although this one was on Friday, this was just based on the non-farm payroll, but we can't really see the prices did manage to continue going down because I just ended up actually holding that one for a much longer time. So we'll end up having a look at those. But remember, guys, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them into us. Our contact details are right there in the chat box. If you want to know more education on how to actually get those entries, where to actually buy and sell, and what you should actually be waiting for within these areas, because even though we keep on pointing out buy and sell within certain areas, there's certain things that you do need to look for. So if you don't necessarily have a clear strategy, feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details are there in the chat box. We do have a number of programs, especially the Amplified Massive Class, the AMP program, that should end up giving you a lot of insight in terms of what we actually do, since we'll be sitting here every day with you, looking for trading opportunities. So feel free to reach out to us if that is something you are interested in. So let's jump onto today's pairs. So we'll start off here with the Australian dollar pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the buy side, do the same thing with the New Zealand dollar. Then we'll do the Swiss franc before we do end up having a look at the indices, as well as gold and silver. So let's start off with the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, on this kind of pair, our bias is to look for selling opportunities, and it was the same situation yesterday. The sell that I showed you actually earlier was right here at the top. Didn't manage to grab that sell, still managed it. Actually ended up closing it earlier today morning, even though the market did continue going down low. However, yesterday there was a nice selling opportunity right here. You can see the price at 10 o'clock did manage to start coming down. We did not necessarily get as much of a pullback as we had wanted to see. But later on, as the price came down lower, it looked as if it was breaching and holding below within this particular area. Might have been a bit difficult to get because I did not necessarily jump in again. You can clearly see the price didn't manage to continue going down lower. If you do look at the time, this was around 4:30 once the New York Stock Exchange did open. So do watch out for those particular times to end up looking for those selling opportunities. And today, even though the price has managed to come down lower, this moved to the downside. This was mainly because we did end up having some more Australian dollar news early in the morning. So the NAB business confidence. So that ended up bringing a lot more weakness on the Australian dollar pairs. So overall, we'll still be looking for selling opportunities. But if you realize right now, we're back within an area where the buyers, so no selling opportunities just yet. We need one of two things to happen. Remember, either a pullback to come in, and this is the one we definitely end up preferring. We end up getting the price approaching this support and resistance area. We could end up finding a very nice selling opportunity right there. But if the price is able to actually break this area to the downside, and you see the price actually holding below, then we should be able to look for selling opportunities. One thing we actually realized and noticed when we're analyzing this market with the team yesterday is this market is really trending to the downside. You can see it actually respecting support and resistance areas. Once this level is breached to the downside, you can see it pull back to that support and resistance area. Similar situation to yesterday. You can see once it did end up breaking this area to the downside, seems like it just pulled back towards that wick right there before it managed to continue going. And similar situation, you can clearly see right here again, the low that it made, we just managed to pull back to that area. So it seems that the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar is respecting the support and resistance areas quite a bit. So that's the reason why we'll be very interested to see the fact that we've just broken this support and resistance area to the downside. We might actually end up getting a pullback towards that area before we're able to look for those selling opportunities. So I'll be very interested to see how this one ends up reacting. So we'll wait to see how the price ends up approaching such locations before looking for those sells. So hope that is clear on the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar. So moving on to the next Australian dollar pair, we do have this Australian dollar against the US dollar. Now this is the trade I actually managed to grab, but yesterday the bias was to look for selling opportunities based on these three areas. So initially wanted to see whether or not we could end up getting a pullback coming back up within the support and resistance area. Unfortunately, that did not happen. You can see the price managed to continue going down lower. And this is the reason why we always say, remember, as I pointed out yesterday, we need to be prepared just in case the market does one thing in comparison to another. So we had this thought of, if it comes back here, we'll look for a sell. But if it breaks the downside, there was still a game plan for that. And you can see in this situation, once the price did break this area to the downside, during the London session, because you can see from 10, that's when we started coming down low. We did end up getting a pullback coming in throughout the London session at 3 o'clock. You can see the price looked as if it was going to the upside. We just actually probed, managed to grab a very nice selling opportunity there, as you can see. Just only had an 8 pip stop loss within that trade and did manage to get close the trade within this particular low right here. And you can see that's at least a nice 1:5.9, almost a 1:6. So just risking a small amount of pips, but we can clearly see the price has managed to continue going down lower. Just because it's done that, there's still opportunities for us today. Remember, we want to see one of two things, either a pullback to come in or a breach to the downside. So let's wait to see what ends up happening since we are back in an area where there are buyers. So the game plan, simple enough. Let's wait for a pullback to come in this support and resistance area for us to look for selling opportunities. Or if the price is able to actually break this area to the downside and we get the price actually holding to the downside and see the price holding below. And especially if it lines up within one of the market opening times, you can see the same story that I keep on pointing out. It's exactly the same story here. At 3 o'clock, that's when the price started coming down. Ended up taking the trade at exactly 4:30. Before that's when the price actually really started going to the downside. So be aware of such situations. So let's wait to see what ends up happening. This is not yet a breach yet. We might end up finding this price actually probing within this area. So let's hope to see if we can end up getting the price coming up a bit higher before we can look for those sells. So hope that is clear on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So moving on to the next Australian dollar pairs, you can see the Australian dollar pairs really did work out. If you did end up entering any Australian dollar pair yesterday, could have made some good money on the charts, especially on this pair, the British pound against the Australian dollar. You can see the 3 areas that we had pointed out, looking for buying opportunities. So the buys did not take off because we were still within this area where the sellers, and we actually ended up getting a pullback throughout the London session, which is what we wanted. You can see there's a price came back, approached this particular buyer's area. It did not take off right here because you can see this was at around 1 o'clock. The price ended up trying to go to the upside. At 3, we got a slight pullback, but when the price was within this particular area during the US market open, that's when the US big boy actually had the enough strength to actually take it to the upside. And you can see the price really did manage to go up quite aggressive. Those who are in the AMP class will be able to recognize that there was some nice trading opportunities potentially within this particular area, or even within this particular area, because you can see once the price did break this area to the upside, got a slight pullback when the price was there at around 4:30, and you can clearly see the price has really taken off to the upside. So trade worked out quite well. In similar situation, there was more Australian dollar weakness that did end up coming up today morning during the Asian session. But today, the bias here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. And if you realize all these Australian dollar pairs that we've ended up having a look at, they all pretty much look the same. The prices are within an area where the sellers, they look as if they're attempting to break this area to the upside, but we've seen the fact that the market has reached all the way till this particular high. You can see the price, the fact that the price managed to get all the way till this level gave us a pullback. Just because the price looks as if it's breaking this area to the upside, this does not confirm that it's actually a breach. Maybe this is now inciting more people to look for buys, because right now it must be very obvious to everyone. So what we would be expecting, or at least let me say I would be expecting, is the price potentially end up giving us a pullback, hopefully within this support and resistance area, before I'm able to look for a buying opportunity within here. If it does manage to hold above, could look for that buy there, but I'll definitely be watching out for this blue support and resistance area. There's a high right there that the price has rejected. You never know if it could end up doing it again. So we will definitely be watching out for that on the British pound against the Australian dollar. So let's move on to the next Australian dollar pair we do have. It's a brand new entry on our watch list. In this kind of pair, our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. Remember, the Australian dollar is on the weak side. The Japanese yen is for a buy. That means we do want to end up selling this kind of pair. So overall, we'll be focusing on these 3 levels for some potential sells right here. So right now, as the price managed to come down, we can see that same Australian dollar weakness that did end up coming to the downside. We have approached an area where the buyers have rejected slightly. So we could end up getting more of a pullback. Right now, the way the price has ended up reacting within this area might seem like we could end up getting maybe some sort of small pullback within this area. We do see the price actually holding below. We might actually end up seeing a selling opportunity right there. But if we do end up missing that and you find that the price actually ends up breaking this area to the downside and we actually get the price holding below, you can see we've gone all the way to this particular low, but not once have we actually held below this area. So if we are able to actually hold below that area and it lines up within one of these market opening times, there could be some nice trading opportunity right here on the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. So hope the game plan is clear on what we're looking at doing on the Australian dollar against the yen. As we move on to the last Australian dollar pair we do have. This is the euro against the Australian dollar. Brand new entry in our watch list, because remember the euro and the Australian dollar are both on the same side. The reason why this pair is really moving to the upside, as you can see the same correlation for all these Australian dollar pairs, is the fact the price has really gone quite aggressively to the upside. So this is the Australian dollar weakness. So right now, similar situation, we did end up looking at the British pound against the Australian dollar. It looked as if it's breaking this area to the upside. This does not confirm anything. What I would be hoping to see is the price actually coming in a bit lower, inciting a few more people to look for sells. We do see the buyers coming in within this area, and it rejects that location. We could end up looking for some nice buying opportunities within this location right there. So we need to see what ends up happening, but that would be my ideal game plan. But there's also a possibility, due to the fact that we've just had some euro fundamentals coming out, which is meant to be showing us strength, some Australian dollar fundamentals, which is showing us weakness. You might find that this one might not necessarily give that much of a pullback. So maybe you might need to end up looking at it maybe in a smaller time frame to actually read that smaller pullback before you're able to look for those buys. But sometimes if the trade goes, let it just go. As you can clearly see, we have a lot more options to look for trading opportunities. That's why we don't only focus on one currency pair. So hope the game plan on all the Australian dollar pairs are clear, because you can clearly see that is what we'll be looking at. For all the Australian dollar pairs, we mix and match them with all the pairs on the buy side. So moving on to the New Zealand dollar pairs, and the New Zealand dollar pairs pretty much did similar things with the Australian dollar, but not necessarily as much. So we'll start off here with the New Zealand dollar against Canadian dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. Now, the sales did work out, but they were quite choppy. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. So at 10 o'clock, the price actually started continuing to come to the downside. It looked as if we broke this area to the downside and the price was holding below. So, but at that point in time, not really much, because we did not necessarily take off based on the fact that it wasn't really a market open. There was no big boy to actually take it right there. But you can see later on at 3, we looked as if we were trying to break this area to the upside. We kept on probing, but at around 4:30, that's when we actually got the strength to actually come down lower. So it did end up technically working during the US market, or at least the New York Stock Exchange open, but not necessarily as clear-cut as we had hoped for. But today, we've adjusted the level slightly. Still going to be looking for selling opportunities, so we'll be focusing on these 3 levels. So let's hope that the price actually ends up reacting within one of these areas. So we'll be looking for aggressive sells all the way at the top right here. So remember, as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. Right now, the fact that the price is so close within this particular bias area, we definitely do not want to start jumping on selling opportunities here. Let's wait to see if we can end up getting the price coming back in within this particular area. Shows us confirmation the price is actually holding below for us to look for selling opportunities. Alternatively, if we do not necessarily see the buyers showing up, because these sellers did end up coming up a bit aggressive, we could end up finding this price actually breaking this area to the downside. Remember, in order for the confirmation to happen, we need to see the price actually holding below. If we do end up seeing that, then we could end up finding a very nice selling opportunity on the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. So hope that's clear on the New Zealand dollar against Canadian dollar. We move on to the next New Zealand dollar pair we do have. Right here, we have the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. There was a very nice selling opportunity here, just missed it slightly. As you can clearly see, the game plan that we did end up having, the price was within a bias area, so we needed one of 2 things to happen, either a pullback coming in or a breach to the downside. So it seems the breach to the downside did end up happening. Similar situation with the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Once the price broke to the downside, and you can see during the London session, we did end up starting to get a pullback coming in. Now, initially within this particular area, as you can see, the same illustrations that we usually draw, at 3 o'clock, the price looked as if it was breaking this area to the upside. It actually came back in, confirming to us that it was actually a probe. And you can see on the pullback, the price came back within this area around 4:30. That's when the price really started taking off to the downside. So it was a nice selling opportunity there, but that means that there's still going to be a potential seller for us today as well. You can see right now where we are, we're within an area where the buyers, the fact that we're looking for sells, that means there's nothing much for us to do. We need to be patient on this pair, wait for one of 2 things. Either that pullback to come in, might find that this price is actually just ranging within this particular level. So you could end up finding the best place to look for the sell is right there. But be aware, if we are able to get this price breaking this area to the downside, similar situation to what happened yesterday, we get a breach to the downside and we get the price actually holding below, then we should be able to look for selling opportunities as well on the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So let's wait to see what ends up happening. But right now, we definitely need to be patient on this pair. So hope that's clear. Moving on, as we move on to the next New Zealand dollar pair, here we have the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. Similar situation as we pointed out, the British pound against the Australian dollar really did move to the upside. Similar situation with this pair. You can see initially the price was within this area where the sellers needed a breach and a hold to the upside to actually look for buying opportunities. So if you do end up zooming in and seeing what exactly happened yesterday, you can see within this area, we wanted either a breach and a hold to the upside for us to look for a buy. And you can see as the price attempted to go up, it actually just came straight back in. So that's the reason why we need that confirmation. All those late buyers who are jumping in on buys, not waiting for that confirmation. Don't feel FOMO, saying that the price is going to go. You're not going to find another opportunity. Every day you come, you'll always see another opportunity here and there. So the best thing is to just wait for your setup, ideally, to come in. So in this situation, you can see it was just a probe. Price came all the way back down within our buyer's area. And if you do notice the time, the price was back within the lowest point right there at 3. So from 3 onwards, you can see from 3 is right there. It was just green candles as the price kept on going up and up and up. So watch out for the time. So it seems that the US big boys were definitely interested in taking this thing, or at least this pair, to the upside. So that's the reason why we also point out the market opening times, because we want to know, are the London big boys going to take it over, the Asian big boys, or are the US big boys going to do it? So like for this pair today, the fact that we're dealing with the New Zealand dollar pair, it seems that during the Asian session, you can see the Asian big boys were definitely interested in taking this price up higher as well. But the fact is, we've not necessarily made a new high. You can see the same high that we made yesterday. That's exactly where we're still at. We've not gotten the price breaking to the upside, even though it went a whole 40 or 50 pips to the upside. This 50 pips is just a probe, because you can see it's attempting to do that again, and the price is coming back in. So for us, in order for us to look for the buy, we'll definitely be waiting for a pullback to come in. If this price is not good enough, there's a chance that if it looks as if it's breaking this area to the downside, then you'll just end up finding that it's actually ends up being a probe. And if you do end up seeing that and the price comes back in and holds above, definitely we'll be looking for buying opportunities there. But be aware, it can still also come back to the red support resistance area. But the red SNR means that that's the last place we'll look for those buys. The price breaks and holds below that area, this pair will fall off our watch list. But you've seen how many times the price has attempted to break this area to the upside. So if we are able to actually get the price breaking this area to the upside, and we do see it holding above, then we should be safe enough to actually look for a buying opportunity above there. But we do need to get that confirmation that the price is actually going to be holding above that area. So I hope that's clear. The British pound against the New Zealand dollar, and at least what our game plan is there. So moving on to the next pair that we do have is the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. This is a brand new entrant on our watch list based on the fact that the New Zealand dollar and the Japanese yen were both on the same side yesterday. So today we're going to be looking for selling opportunities based on these 3 areas right here. So the price has come down. You can clearly see where we are. We're so close within a buyer's area. We just got a probe, and look at the way the sellers are coming down. Chances are we could end up getting this price coming up a bit higher within this particular area for us to look for selling opportunities. But be aware, the fact that this has happened, the buyers don't necessarily show up, and the big boys during the London session are able to push this price down low. And at that point in time, we wait for the hold to the downside for us to look for those selling opportunities. But right now, the fact that within a buyer's area, we need to be patient for either a pullback to come up higher or a breach to the downside to confirm that this buyer's area is no longer giving us issues. So hope that's clear as we move on to the last New Zealand dollar pair we do have. So in this case, we have the euro against the New Zealand dollar. Similar situation. This is a brand new entry in our watch list. And our bias here is to look for buying opportunities. As you can see, the New Zealand dollar is definitely showing strength, showing weakness, however, not necessarily as much. You can see the same high that the price managed to make yesterday. That's where it has attempted to push up today, but we have not managed to actually break this level to the upside. As you can see, we did end up attempting earlier today morning. We are attempting now. Let's wait to see what ends up happening. We do end up getting the price actually holding above. There could be a buying opportunity within this particular area to go to the upside. So just delete that. So we could end up finding the price actually holding to the upside to actually take us up higher. However, for us, the main thing we always want to see is a pullback. Or at least let me just say for me and the team, we do end up waiting for pullbacks. Those are the best opportunities that you do end up getting in the charts. at least it then does end up giving you a good risk to reward. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. If this goes, let it go. Ideally, remember this game plan is still the same. It makes a new high, let's end up waiting for a pullback. Because remember, most people understand the logic of trading in terms of the fact that the market ends up making higher highs and higher lows. If someone is asked for how an uptrend works, but if the market is doing that, then you should know the best places to look for the buys are during these higher lows. So if you're looking at that and you have that market structure in mind, you can see we made a higher high right there, made a higher low. Right now, we're back within this area. We should not be looking for buying opportunities right there. Remember, let's wait for a pullback to come in so we can end up looking for those higher lows. And that's the reason why you see a lot of the times, whenever we're drawing these, at least the game plan of what we're looking at, you'll realize they were just following the structure, waiting for a pullback, giving us a higher low for us to look for those buys. So that's mainly the reason why we're not such a big fan of the conservative entries, because we haven't really gotten that pullback. So for now, we'll wait to see. That doesn't mean that these trades don't go. We did end up seeing yesterday a number of pairs did go during the conservative areas. But for us, let's just end up waiting to see if we can end up getting those pullbacks. At least if we follow that structure, 8 out of 10 times, most of the time, it will end up working out. So hope that's clear on all the New Zealand dollar pairs. So as you can see, we've mixed and matched the New Zealand dollar pairs with all the pairs on the buy side. So we'll move on to the Swiss franc pairs. So we'll start off, so apologies, with the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, the Swiss franc pairs really did end up giving us a pullback yesterday. Not too sure what's happening with them. They seem as if they could potentially be giving us some issues right here, but we'll wait to see what ends up happening. Similar situation with the Canadian dollar. As you can see, yesterday, we did have this currency pair looking for buying opportunities, and you can see the 3 areas that we had pointed out, but at no point in time did we actually end up seeing some buyers coming in. Price came in during the London session, managed to actually break this area to the downside just before the US market did end up opening. So I wanted to see how the price is actually going to react in this area. At 4:30, we did see some potential buys coming in, because this was the area that we were watching out to see whether or not the price is actually going to hold it in there. But once it came down, it did end up falling off our watch list. So today, we ended up having to go up a higher time frame to actually see what exactly is going on. Because you did end up seeing the way the buyers came in quite aggressive. Right now, you can clearly see how many times this area has actually ended up holding. Because right here, you can see the price went to the downside, came straight back up. That's just a probe. Here we have another probe right there. But right now, we'll wait to see what ends up happening. A number of times these pairs can end up just going to incite very many people to look for trade in one direction before the price actually ends up moving. So right now it's attempting to do that. So we'll still be watching out for buying opportunities. However, this one, if the price ends up holding below this area, it will definitely be off our watch list. But right now, the fact that, remember, we keep on mentioning, in order for you to buy, you need sellers. Guaranteed, all the people who are buying right here, all of them are getting stopped out. Most people are now switching to sellers. We are still looking for the buy, and that's the reason why we will be waiting for something similar to this. We do see buyers coming in aggressive, and we see the price holding above. That's when we'll definitely be looking for buying opportunities. But if we get the price not being able to do that, and we don't see the price coming back in and holding above, then we'll no longer be looking for buys. But at the same time, we will not look for selling opportunities. One thing we've said a lot of times actually within in-house is if it's not a buy, that doesn't mean it's a sell, right? And similar situation, if it's not a sell, that doesn't mean it's a buy. Sometimes you're told just don't do anything, right? It's either one thing or it could be something else, but it doesn't mean it's one or the other, right? So in this situation, just because the price is holding to the downside doesn't mean it's a sell. We'll wait to see if the price can come back up, hold above, for us to look for those buying opportunities on the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. So hope that is clear as we move on to the next Swiss franc pair. You can see a similar correlation, but maybe that has something to do with the Canadian dollar. But yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the 3 areas that we had pointed out. Price has been coming down, no sign of big boy buyers yet, even though right here at 4:30, did end up seeing the price attempting to come up higher, especially we had this support and resistance area. If the price is able to actually come up and hold above, there could have been a potential buying opportunity there. However, you can see this is just a probe. The price actually confirmed that it was actually holding below within this area. So at that point in time, no buying opportunity. So pretty much we'll have the same areas to look for those buying opportunities. but you'll realize that we do have a blue support and resistance area right there where the price does seem to be reacting from. So this area is quite interesting, especially when we do end up going up to one higher time frame. You can see as the price went to the upside, this was the support and resistance area that was breached. So just because the price has gone up and we do have a major level here, but it's very interesting to see that the price is actually holding within this support and resistance area. Look at how aggressive the buyers came in and look at how much time the price has actually taken to come down lower. So we'll definitely still be looking for buying opportunities, and that's the reason why the buys are still valid as long as we're still holding above the red support and resistance area. Right now, the price could end up reacting within this particular support and resistance area that we are at right now. But the main thing, if we want to end up actually being safe, let's wait to see if we can end up getting the price actually coming back up above this area, seeing the price holding above. We do end up seeing that, and it lines up within one of the market opening times. We'll definitely end up looking for a buying opportunity there. But be aware, price can still come back down all the way within this main buyer's area, and we'll definitely still be looking for buying opportunities on the US dollar against the Swiss franc. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. But ideally, that is the game plan that we're going to be looking at today. So moving on to the next Swiss franc pair, we do have the British pound against Swiss franc. Similar situation with the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. Something happening with the Swiss franc pairs. Definitely all the people who are looking for buys as the price has gone to the upside. You can see the price has come back down. We're back within a major buyer's area, potentially in some sort of range, bouncing between these levels. And the fact that we're all the way down here, and you can see a similar situation where we're still holding where this buyer's area is. You can see how many times we have attempted to break this area, but look at how many probes we've had. How many times that the buyers have actually shot to the upside. We keep on rejecting the price to actually come down lower. But remember, if the price actually ends up breaking this area to the downside and fall below, that's when this pair will fall off our watch list. But for now, it definitely still is on. We'll wait to see what ends up happening within these three areas. Ideally, we'll be waiting to see if we can be able to get some sort of aggressive buyers coming in for us to look for those buying opportunities. So right now, no trading opportunity. What we want is some strong buyers coming in. And then the pullback when the price is actually holding below, to the upside, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities there. Make sure to manage your trade within these problem areas. You never know if this price could actually end up reacting to bring the price down lower. But overall, we'll definitely be watching out for these areas. And you can be able to use correlation, because remember, we've had a look at the other pairs. All of them look as if they're probing within this particular problem area. Similar situation with all of them. So you could end up finding there could be something that could end up happening on one. You should end up seeing it on the other pairs. So be wary of that and take note of the Swiss franc pairs. So right here, we'll move on to the next Swiss franc pair we do have is the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. These are brand new entering our watch list, and overall, our bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities. You can see the fact that the Swiss franc seems to be within these problem areas right there, within some sellers areas. Right now, if you're looking at the market structure, we do seem to be in some sort of range bouncing between these levels. So if that's the case, we definitely want to look for selling opportunities. Sells right there at the top, making sure we manage our trade within the bottom. Be aware, when the market ranges, we see a lot of probes actually coming. So if you do end up seeing something like that, make sure you manage your trade. Even if you get the price coming down lower, when it does end up approaching this area, make sure you manage. If you see the price coming down lower, don't think that this price is now going to go. It's time to actually start looking for what car you're going to buy. Because many times this ends up happening, the price will actually end up coming back in, holding above. So ranges usually end up proving quite a bit. So wait to get confirmation. If you get the price holding below, should be able to look for selling opportunities, but we'll wait to see what ends up happening. If the price is able to hold below within this area, that's when we should be able to take it all the way down within the next problem area down there. But remember, this being the Swiss franc pair and the red support and resistance area right there, the price breaks this area to the upside and it does hold above, this pair will fall off our watches. So moving on to the next and last Swiss franc pair, here we have the euro against the Swiss franc, brand new entry in our watch list. And you can see the same correlation. You start to wonder, why are all these Swiss franc pairs giving us some huge probes within our buyer's area? Maybe they're, most of the times when the market ranges, usually afterwards you'll find some big movement coming in. So let's wait to see what ends up happening. Hopefully it's all in terms of our direction. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. If we do end up getting another probe, you see the price holding above, we should be able to look for buying opportunities. Look at the price holding above this area, or let's say you missed the trading opportunity down there. and you're able to get the price reaching to the upside and holding above. Let's see if it matches up with one of the market opening times. If it does, definitely we'll be looking for buying opportunities here. If the price actually ends up coming down lower, breaking and holding below this red support and resistance area, this pair will fall off our watch list. So let's wait to see what ends up happening on the euro against the Swiss franc. So that's pretty much it for all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the pairs on the sell side with the pairs on the buy side. So right now, we're going to have a look at the indices before we do end up having a look at gold and silver. So remember, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them on the Q&A section. I will be addressing them all at the end of this webinar. So starting off with the NAS 100, you can see yesterday our bias was to look for selling opportunities. We were within the seller's area, wanted to see a bit more of a pullback to come in. Seems that the big boys during London said no, and I guess that was enough, good enough price for them to actually start looking for sales, because you can see from exactly 10, seem to have broken this small support and resistance area to the downside. Once the price pulled back, it was there around 10 o'clock. You can see it really came to the downside. Similar situation, once the price came down lower, should have managed your trade here, but we did not necessarily get a breach and hold just yet. You can see the price actually started giving us a pullback, and this was from 3 o'clock. So later on, weirdly enough, the NAS 100, or at least a number of these indices, tend to move. Sometimes they could end up moving around 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, sometimes even 10. So you can see in yesterday's situation, price attempted to pull back slightly. This is almost around 4:30, but it ended up taking off at around 9 p.m. Kenyan time. And you can see the price managed to come down lower. So today, the bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. As you can see, the fact that we've come down lower, there's a possibility we're still going to need to pull back to this support and resistance area for us to look for those selling opportunities. So we pretty much have the same areas, but there are some locations that you guys should watch out for, at least even we'll be watching out for. Just because we're looking for sales all the way at the top doesn't mean that these sellers who started pushing it down yesterday at around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, they could still end up bringing it down again. So if you do end up getting this pullback coming in, it could end up still pulling back, possibly, might not necessarily hold here. You could find it bouncing off this area before you do end up seeing some aggressive reaction. If you do end up seeing that, then there could be a nice selling opportunity right there. But be aware also, there must be a reason as to why the price is actually stopped within this particular area. Yes, it's also a support and resistance area that we have identified. The price has bounced off this particular location multiple times, but the fact that the price is there, if you manage to grab your selling opportunity at the top, do make sure you're doing some trade management. Don't necessarily try and target all the way to the bottom, or not doing any type of management within here, just in case these buyers do end up reacting, right? So let's hope to see what ends up happening here. Hopefully it follows that game plan, but right here, we'll wait to see what ends up happening. So moving on to the next indice that we have the Dow Jones. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities, and you can see the sales did work out, giving us different opportunities, although not necessarily within the times that we had wanted. Similar situation, in this situation at 10 o'clock, the price was within that area. We did not necessarily get that pullback coming in. We got the price actually coming all the way down lower, quite aggressive. We did end up getting a pullback. Similar situation that did happen with the NAS 100. And same thing, around 8, 9 o'clock, we did end up getting the price coming down lower. But at least on this pair, it did end up giving us a nice opportunity, because you can see once the price broke to the downside right here, we did end up getting a pullback around 8 p.m. That's when on that pullback, there could have been a nice selling opportunity, because you can see the price really did come down quite aggressive once we did get confirmation that that level had been broken. So remember, that's why it's very important to get confirmation. It does also give you a trading opportunity there. So price has managed to come down lower, so we've adjusted the level slightly today. So we'll still be looking for selling opportunities on this, but based on these three areas. So right now, we're so close towards the buyer's area, so no selling opportunity for us just yet. Let's wait to see if we can end up getting a pullback coming in within this particular area, potentially within the support and resistance area, for us to look for sells right there. Or there's a possibility we could end up getting this price actually breaking this area to the downside. Remember, if we do get the price breaking, similar situation, we still want to see a pullback, price holding below, for us to look for those selling opportunities on the Dow Jones. So I hope that is clear, and at least what our game plan is on looking at on the Dow Jones. As we move on to silver. Now, on silver, yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. It is still today, but that might change just based on how the market structure is starting to look like. Because remember, overall, we're still within a buyer's market based on these three levels. So yesterday, looking for the buys did not necessarily fully work out, because you can clearly see based on these three areas that we had pointed out. During the London session, we started coming down slowly, or at least we're just ranging within this area. The US big boys came in, they looked as if they were breaking this area to the downside. It just came back up, looked as if it was holding above. Similar situation, another probe. But later on, you can see once the price is actually able to break this area to the downside and was holding below, it did not necessarily take off at any time. It needed a big boy to actually move the market. So it seems that the Asian big boys were very interested to bring this price down lower. Now, we did manage to get all the way back within the main bars area. Remember, the red support and resistance area is the line in the sand for us, meaning if the price is holding above this area, we're looking for buys. If the price breaks and holds below this area, we will be looking for selling opportunities. So right now, we'll still be looking for buys and more. I mean, I've repeated the same thing throughout this lesson. This is not a break yet. In order for us to confirm that the level has broken, let's see. We get the price giving us a pullback and it holds below, then it's a selling opportunity. But the fact is, you can clearly see the price has been able to get all the way to this level before. As you can see, when it came down and it came straight back in. So that wasn't a breach to the downside, but yet it's still very many pips right there. So similar situation, this price as it's coming down lower, don't necessarily trade an active candle, because similar situation, this red candle right here, it was also a big red candle at some point in time. So all those people jumping in on sells are definitely crying or stopped out at that point in time. So right now, if the price actually holds below, this is a sell. But if we end up getting the price coming back in and it actually holds above, then this will end up being a very nice buying opportunity for us. So this is a very interesting area. We'll wait to see what ends up happening, whether or not it will remain for the buy or if it holds below and turn into sellers. And if it turns into sellers, we'll definitely be looking for selling opportunities on silver. Now, moving on to gold. Now, on gold, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. It is still the same situation today. Give me 1 second. It seems like it's taking a bit of time. But overall, bias is definitely going to be looking for selling opportunities on gold. Just give it a second. I'm not too sure what is happening with trading view at the moment. There we go. So gold, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. It is still the same situation today. However, we've adjusted the levels slightly just to make sure at least we have levels that we can be able to trade with. Because I think the levels yesterday were a bit quite wide, especially based on the fact that they were based on a 1 hour time frame. Since the market has started respecting these levels. So yesterday, even though we're meant to look for selling opportunities, there was some potential sells. 10 o'clock, the price did manage to come up. We did not necessarily get all the way till this main seller's area right there. But at 3 o'clock, we did end up coming down quite aggressive. And on the pullback, the price actually came back, held below. So there could have been a potential selling opportunity there. And that was around 4:30 or so, just before 4:30. And you can see the price managed to continue just bouncing and ranging between these levels. So today, we have adjusted the levels just to make it easier for us to trade. And it seems that the market is definitely respecting these particular locations. So we'll definitely be looking for selling opportunities on this. Right now, we do seem to be attempting to break this area to the downside. You can see how many times this support and resistance area has held. Look at how far the market has been able to go before. This being gold, don't be surprised. This few pips ends up being 100 pips probe. So the price has been able to go 100 pips and still come back up, right? So don't be incited by the market. And let's wait to see what ends up happening. There's a possibility we could get the price actually holding below because it's starting to look quite similar to silver. And there's a possibility silver might actually start holding to the downside and we might actually start looking for sells. But for gold, we definitely will be looking for selling opportunities. So let's wait to see what ends up happening. The price actually holds below here. That's confirmed that that level has been broken. Then we'll definitely be looking for sells. But if not, we will definitely, when we see the price actually coming back in and holding to the upside, then we'll be looking for our selling opportunities a bit higher up, possibly within the support and resistance area, for us to look for selling opportunities there. Remember, the market could potentially be in some sort of range, so it's either within this area or all the way at the top for those potential selling opportunities. So I hope the game plan is clear on what we're looking at doing on all the kinds of pairs. Here's the watch list for those of you who are a bit late. Remember, at least the recording is on our YouTube channel, so feel free to join us there. Or at least even if you want to end up finding out what are the pairs, what are the exact levels, you can be able to do that. And if you do end up managing to do that, don't forget to drop a like. That does really end up helping out our channel. So in terms of fundamentals today, there are a bit of fundamentals. Let me just quickly go to today to see, because the fact that during the Asian session, there were a bit of fundamentals, quite a lot actually. We can see we had some British pound fundamentals, some yen news, some Australian dollar news. We can see some euro fundamentals. Those are the ones that came out at 9. There's still a bunch of euro speeches, so we could end up expecting some volatility then. Not necessarily as much during the European session or the London session. However, during the US session, at least we do end up seeing a lot more volatility based on the fact that there's a lot more news events. So let's wait to see what ends up happening there. So let me see if I can address any questions on the Q&A section, if there are any. I'm not seeing much. I'm seeing Alan Ronoy saying, hi, Mitch. Thanks a lot. Karibu sana, Alan. Thanks for your vote of thanks. Glad to always see you here as well. And I'm seeing here Ivy Wanyama. Hello, team. Thanks a lot. Karibu sana, Ivy. And thank you also so much for your screenshots. Happy to see your progress as well. So keep sending them in. And definitely, we're happy to see and see how we can end up helping you out much, much more. So thanks a lot for that as well, Ivy. So I'm not seeing any more questions, which is fine. We do need to end up jumping onto the charts. So remember, if you manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are there in the chat box. If you want to get more information about more education or anything Forex related, our contact details are right there. You can be able to reach out to us and we can see what ways we can actually end up helping you out. So once again, thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have an amazing trading day. God bless and bye for now. Cheers, guys, and happy trading.